Welcome to Arise, Songs and Stories for the Bread Revolution. My name is Mary Louise and I'm a storyteller. Let me introduce you to Suzanne Houston, our musician.
I'm also a parent with hungry children to feed.
And Andrew Whitley, our baking expert.
And I can tell you a thing or two about bread.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? There's something wrong with our bread today.
It's causing pain. Is it here to stay?
We've got to find out. Yes, we got to find out.
There is a problem with the way it's made.
Can we find the reasons that we've gone astray?
We gotta find out. Yes, we gotta find out. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? We gotta find out.
What is going wrong with our bread today?
Well, in order to tell you that story, we're going to have to tell you this story.
Our tale begins many thousands of years ago in the grasslands of ancient Mesopotamia. I was one of those grasses, swaying in the breeze, ripening in the sunshine. I could have happily spent eternity like that. Then you humans discovered that you could gather my seeds and use them for food. You realized that I could help you. I was chosen. I was recognized for my ability to nourish. I was given a name, and my name is Wheat. I, Wheat, was invited to come on a journey with human beings, helping you, nourishing you, allowing you to grow. And what would I gain from this journey with humanity? I would be loved by you. You wanted me. You needed me. All of me, just the way I was. In time, at first, you got to my grainy goodness by crushing my seeds into a paste. Oh, it was hard to be squashed down and reduced like that. Even then, I knew I had the potential to rise higher and to bring the whole of civilization with me. Then you discovered that by putting my seeds in water, I could be fermented.
Fermented? What does that mean?
Fermentation is a process by which enzymes in the grain turn starches into sugars, which are turned by natural yeasts into carbon dioxide gas and alcohol.
This fermentation process led to a kind of bread that could rise all by itself. In some parts of the world, people have been living on this for 15,000 years. All of me was used. It's delightful to know when people had to choose. They chose me, and so I was free to be me. It's how I began. The goodness in my wheat germ and 7 layers of bran was given time to ferment. I helped those human brains with the vitamins and minerals in my whole grains. This is who I am, what I do when I'm whole. All of me was used. Just me and water This process of making bread slowly using fermentation allowed me to give everything I had to nourish you and help you survive. I gave you my whole self, and you flourished. In time, you learned to replant my seeds and grow food you could store for times of hunger.
Now wheat was solving the number one problem that affected humanity for most of its history: how to make sure there was enough food for everybody.
Sounds too good to be true.
So there I was, loved, appreciated, valued. What could be more important than that? Maybe this was my destiny. I could have happily spent eternity like that. This is who I am, what I do when I'm whole. All of me was used. Just me and water in a bowl. Over time, I travelled around the world, feeding new people in new lands, supporting new civilization. In ancient Rome, I was so important that the people in power made sure that their citizens got bread regularly in return for loyalty and obedience.
The richest people liked to have their flour sifted for them. This made a lighter kind of bread, and it was a sign of their wealth to show that they had so much money they could afford to throw a good half of the wheat away.
What?
That was all right. The rest of me was used to make bread for the slaves and the poor people. So I was feeding everyone. And the poorer people were getting the best parts of me.
But I bet they didn't know that and would have preferred the lighter bread.
Very probably. By the Middle Ages...
The Middle Ages? It's a bit of a jump forward.
The grain supply was completely dominated by the ruling class. Peasants in England and France rebelled against this injustice because they weren't even allowed to keep the grain that they had laboured to harvest themselves.
That's appalling.
It gets worse. 18th century Britain was the first country to industrialise.
Right, we're hopping through history a little fast here, Andrew.
Yeah, we've only got an hour. As I was saying, industrialisation forced a lot of people off the land to work in mills and factories. Their wages were so low and their working conditions so cramped that they couldn't possibly feed themselves as they had before. They had to buy food, and they were forced to eat the cheapest available. Bread from bakeries became their staple.
I became the first convenience food. You could never have managed without me.
I still can't.
In crowded cities, poorer people could see what richer people were eating, especially the lighter bread, which was whiter than the darker, rougher stuff they'd been accustomed to. Not everybody could afford luxuries such as meat and wine, but everybody absolutely wanted that same white bread.
But I bet those poorer people really depended on that bread.
Up to 80% of their diet was bread. But the desire for this white bread was to have devastating consequences.
When I first started off, as that bread the ancient Mesopotamians loved so much, I must confess, I was a bit rough. Then people learned to remove some of those outer layers that were so difficult to chew, and let's face it, a bit gritty and grubby. So when they offered to unburden me from some of those outer layers, what if you could just help me here? I agreed. After all, maybe it wasn't so important for you to love all of me. Maybe those outer layers, not the real me, after all. And so I became a little bit lighter, a little bit whiter, a little bit softer, a little bit more melt in the mouth. than I used to be. You love me like this, and I love to be loved. A little bit lighter, a little bit whiter, a little bit softer, a little bit. That's what I wanna be.
Increasing demand for this white bread put pressure on us bakers. White flour cost more because the millers had removed about 30% of the grain. How could bakers make a white bread at a price that poorer people could afford without going out of business themselves? Well, they could bulk up their flour with powders that were cheaper, and if they made the bread look whiter, then so much the better.
Yuck.
All
And wait, were poorer folks now really getting the same bread as their richer neighbours?
No, I'm afraid the answer to that is no. Potassium, alum, and chalk were widely used in bakeries in the 18th century. When overused in cheap bread, alum is toxic, especially to children. Other improvers included ammonium carbonate and even, some said, ground up bones. All adulterants were banned in 1758, but it took another 100 years before anything much was done to control their use.
I just wanted to look my best. So I was delighted when in the late 1800s along came roller mills. For the first time, they could remove many more of my rough outer layers by a method of clever and very rapid sifting and grinding. They made me look better than ever. At last, I had become truly refined. A little bit lighter, a little bit whiter, a little bit softer, a little bit. That's what I wanna be.
Roller milling extracted about 60% of the calcium and up to 80% of other key minerals from the whole wheat, iron, zinc, magnesium. The impact of this was really severe. Have you ever seen pictures from the 1930s of emaciated, rickety people on city streets?
I think so.
This was the consequence of over 50 years of dependence on this ultra-processed white flour. Now, leading nutritionists of the time in the late 1930s insisted that some of the stolen nutrients should be put back.
Oh, yeah, I know these. You see them on the back of the packet, right? So calcium, iron, you know, in brackets, calcium, iron, and 2 B vitamins, right?
Yes, but don't imagine that this fortified flour is a patch on the real wholemeal. You get more of the minerals when you eat the whole grains. It's as simple as that.
And what happened to my outer layers?
Well, the millers could sell your bran for animal feed, and they were onto a real winner when they sold your wheat germ to the big pharmaceutical corporations who extracted the vitamin E from it and sold it back to us as an expensive supplement. We only needed this vitamin because they'd milled it out of the grain in the first place.
Sorry, say that last bit again?
Because they'd milled the vitamin E out of the grain in the first place.
You're telling me vitamin E is an absentee from my panini? Because it's milled out intentionally. If there's a plea for vitamin E at the pharmacy, then it must be hard to find in food naturally. But the product is made from wheat germ. My concern is that they pack it in a pill and sell it back to me. Oh, vitamin E. Oh, vitamin E. Oh, vitamin E. Do you see the sheer perversity? Now here's the key. If they left it in the flour, we get it for free. Could there be a revolution in this century with vitamin E? If we reject white flour as a commodity, we need an order by decree for all to agree. That would guarantee a wholemeal high tea. Oh, vitamin E. Oh, vitamin E. Oh, vitamin E. If they left it in the flour, we'd get it for free. I can't unsee what you've shown to me. Wheat, what have they forced you to be?
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? Is it the farm? Is it the mill? Is it the profit they're extracting? Ooh, we gotta find out. Yes, we gotta find out. Milling bits out, adding bits in. Is it a scandal in the making? Ooh, we gotta find out. Yes, we gotta find out. Well, one of the things that was going on was that in 1961, they came to me and they said, Wheat, you know we love you. But it's just too expensive to import your harder varieties from around the world now. So we want to make more bread with the kind of soft wheat you grow into here in Britain. To do that, we've come up with a brand new way of making bread. It's called the Charlie Wood process. Not only will you become a little bit lighter, a little bit whiter, a little bit softer, but our brilliant scientists have done away with that time-consuming fermentation. They can make bread cheaper and quicker than ever, and it lasts longer too. It's like a miracle. Between us, we can make more bread than ever and a profit too. All we need is your cooperation, a few huge factories, and the magical power of modern science. What do you say? We promise you'll make more bread and be more loved than ever before. And I said, no fermentation. Wow. I suppose that's my job, isn't it? To make as much bread as possible and keep those profits up. So I said yes. More bread for more people. What could possibly be wrong with that?
I'll tell you what's wrong with that. Fermentation really matters. It predigests bits of gluten in the flour, which some people find hard to stomach. It makes those key minerals in the bran, the iron, magnesium, calcium, and so on, more available to our digestive systems. And fermentation, when it really gets going, helps our guts and our brains to function better and reduces inflammation.
A little bit lighter.
Excuse me, but replacing fermentation with additives was one of the worst features of that Chorley Wood bread process, the cheap, convenient stuff.
A little bit whiter. Hello, big industrial bread processor.
The people, they love you, darling. My colleagues and I, we've really cracked it. What luck that soft and cheap is exactly what those people keep buying, don't you? And exactly what our shareholders keep profiting from. I'm sensing gratitude from, well, everyone. Thank me for the medium sliced soft white, quite right, it's your daily delight. Yes, thank me for the medium sliced soft white, quite right, it's your daily delight. Thank me for the adjustments I made to the recipe so you don't have to chew. The crumb softening enzymes, you love them dearly. clearly nothing to do with profits for me. So thank me for the medium sliced off white. Quite right, it's your daily delight. It fits in the toaster every time. Sublime, you know it's always gonna fit in there. I don't care if the wheat is not fermented. You might be tormented if it's not square. So thank me for the medium sliced soft white. Quite right, it's your daily delight.
Wow, how did it stay soft for over a week?
It's ever so convenient for you.
And you all do deserve the finest cuisine.
And the pureness in colour surely makes it supreme. So thank me for the medium sliced soft white. Quite right.
Right, that's quite enough of that. A lot of people can tell a different story about this white bread. Hands up anyone who's experienced bloating or indigestion after eating this stuff. Yeah, exactly. Have you ever wondered what you're actually eating? If you want to know what's in it, listen up for just a minute. Our daily bread's adulterated. Check the ingredient list. Though obscure and unappealing, hiding more than it's revealing, it's an ultra-processed litany. Here's what you may have missed. The farm sprays wheat all over to prevent it falling over, with plant hormones that now are found in everybody's pee, and glyphosate, the herbicide, sprayed on at harvest far and wide, leaves toxic traces in our bread, one slice in every 3. Huge mixers work at such a pace, there's a need for fungal amylase from Aspergillus niger, that's black mold to you and me, to standardize the flour so 6,000 loaves an hour don't clog their tubes like bread does ours when we have it for our tea. Adding extra gluten makes dough rise, and since we all shop with our eyes, the bakers try to tempt us with the biggest loaves they can. Their ingredient, vital gluten, for us is labelled as wheat protein. Hardly helpful when you're trying to limit gluten in your scran. Sodium sterol-2-lactylate and glycerin monostearate diacetylated esters of glycerides mono and di, L-cysteine hydrochloride. While all these treats emulsify, can you feel burger bundo balling up in your insides? Azodicarbonamide and potassium bromate side by side, essential improvers. They told us as we ailed, but when they proved a link to cancer, biochemists had an answer in unlabeled enzyme cocktails, and no one went to jail. Hemicellulose, phospholipase, multigenic alpha amylase, transglutaminase, peptidase, silanase, and on it goes. Sly enzymes override our will. We never feel we've had our fill. We can't stop eating UPF. We long to goodness knows. We've been stuffed with toxic flour, for too long starved of power, tricked into eating sandwiches we struggle to digest. We'll never be a good food nation with this routine adulteration. What price are right to healthy food when we're stuck with UPF?
Wait a minute. Did you just call me a UPF? What is that?
It stands for ultra-processed food.
Is that what I've become? I was young, I was whole, I was totally me. You asked me to come on your journey. Now I'm less than I was, but I'm more than I dreamed. There's something not right, and I'm not what I seem. I wanted to share my life with you. I thought you saw the real me, but you've taken much more than you give. How is that healthy for me? And though I may hope you love me still, am I just grist to your mill? When I gave you my heart, oh, I gave you my all, but you pulled me apart to discard me. So much of my goodness you just couldn't see. So I learned to let go, but still tried to be me. I wanted to give my all to you, but you didn't understand how. Time is a gift you can't exchange for potions and chemicals now. If we tried again, is there the will? Or am I just grist to your mill?
Oh, Wheat, please don't give up on us. Please don't give up on us. It's not too late. Remember who you used to be. Remember how you used to feed those ancient Mesopotamians, just you and water fermented together. Remember how nourishing you were, how good you felt, how completely satisfied you were when you knew that all of you was involved in keeping people healthy.
Yes, I remember.
What you need now is time. Time to remember who you are at your core. You're not just a carbohydrate that breaks down into sugars. You are an amazing mixture of protein, starch, minerals, vitamins, fiber, and so much more. And it takes time for you to give of your best.
How can I do that?
Well, maybe you could work with bakers who really value you for what you are and want to make the best of you for everybody. Maybe you could become the kind of real bread that uses the whole of you.
Ah, yes. I can transform into that well-fermented bread, the best version of me. No longer will people have to suffer the problems I've caused them in the past: bloating, inflammation, pain. When I thought it was more important to be loved and to make a profit, I forgot that my job's really to nourish people as well as I possibly can.
Don't blame yourself for all this, Wheat. When humans are involved, when money's involved, humans don't always act in their own best interests. There's always unscrupulous people who care more about making a fast buck than earning an honest crust. But come on. You helped us to build this civilization in the first place. Now we need you to help us heal it.
Yes, that's what I want to be once again. An awful lot browner, a good bit darker, a little bit firmer, a lot more me.
So wheat was welcomed into a community of bakers who made her into something we call sourdough. Using slow fermentation, we made her into the kind of bread that was the best possible version of what she could be, and she was content.
Until, that is. I overheard a conversation one day which led me to think that maybe being sourdough wasn't quite as straightforward as I first thought.
Hello, Mr. Real Bread Man.
Oh, hello.
Now, I'm trying to decide on the best supermarket bread to buy for my children because it seems I can't feed children without involving sandwiches. But personally, I avoid it. Makes me a bit bloated, makes me a bit constipated. And I know loads of folk who do say the same, but they don't have the same trouble with your sourdough.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Well, I've heard great things about sourdough, but whenever I consider picking any up in the aisle of the supermarket, turn it over, it does have a big list of additives. So should I just leave it?
I know, it's really confusing, isn't it? But here are some simple rules. If the label says it's got yeast or any of those strange additives in it, then it's not real sourdough. And sadly, seeing the word sourdough on the label is no guarantee that it's the real thing. Sourfaux is an industry. Long fermentation is what it's all about. Flour and water fermented together. All that other stuff is just there to make the bread rise faster, of course. Thank you very much for that. And that's exactly what we don't want. So Sourfaux is a food industry. Sorry. I know you want the best bread for your children. We've got another point here. Fibre is important, so you've got to check out the fibre. Now, the bran is where the natural yeasts and bacteria are most plentiful, and they drive the sourdough fermentation. So it's important for them to enable you to have a healthy digestive system. Wholemeal flour has all the bran and the germ in it, so check that out too.
Yeah, wholemeal. Yeah, it's obviously healthy, right? That's fine. I'll buy the supermarket fancy loaf. It's the real deal. It says multi-seed, and it's brown, so it must be wholemeal.
It's not.
Right? I'll buy the sourdough pizza for my kids so I know then they'll benefit from at least some fermented dough.
No. Adding seeds to make something look wholemeal is just a deception. And sadly, seeing the word sourdough on the label is no guarantee it's the real thing, as I've said before. Sourfaux is an industry con. They take a little bit of deactivated sourdough powder, stick it into an additive-laden dough, slap the S word on it and call it Nobody's the Wiser. The Real Bread campaign has been campaigning for a good 15 years.
Don't call me sourdough if I'm not sourdough. Don't call me sourdough, I'm telling you why. Lest it's flour, water, salt, then your recipe's at fault. Don't call me sourdough, that's just a lie. If it's a sourdough, then call it a sourdough. If you want to make sourdough, I'm telling you how. 3 ingredients and time, everybody let's sign up.
I can't make my own, no way, not now. This is hopeless. I've got too many other priorities. I can't afford the artisan bread, and I don't have time to make it myself. This can't be my battle.
Fair enough, but you know, you're not alone. You can make it with friends, or you can join other folk who are already doing it in a community food hub.
And the whole process only needs to take 30 minutes of your hands-on time. Your dough can ferment slowly while you're getting on with your life.
Would you want to have a go?
Will you help me?
Yes.
Here, you could use this starter.
What is a starter?
It's a dough, but a little bit smarter. Everything you need for your bread to rise is in here. Me and some of those good bacteria and naturally occurring yeasts. A starter, what is a starter?
It's a dough, but a little bit smarter.
Okay, but do I have to make one or buy one every time I bake?
No. When you refresh it with flour and water, you keep some of that dough back in the fridge, and that's your starter for next time.
A starter.
What is a starter? It's a dough, but a little bit smarter. Here now to help you along, so we wrote you this recipe song. The time that it takes you can fit round your plans, so we'll sing you the measurements right now in grams.
Tell me how it's done. I'm ready for stage 1.
Take 120 water, 200 of flour, mixing 160 starter for the sourdough power. Leave it under cover and discover you're free for an 8-hour sleep or some good company. This one added extra for you is a teaspoon of salt in stage 2. All those additives found in that secretive system. Now with this recipe, you can resist them.
I see what to do for stage number 2.
Keep 300 of your dough, put the rest in a jar. That's your starter for next time.
Straightforward so far.
Add 300 flour, salt, and 400 flour. Knead it for 5 minutes and leave it for 4 hours. Oven time, turn it to 200 degrees in Celsius. 40 minutes or a little less, that's a recipe for success. Bake to share one, make a new companion. Bake 4, share 3, take turns to try this recipe. Bake 2, share 1, make a new companion. Bake 4, share 3, take turns to try this recipe. Take turns to try this recipe.
That's the recipe for a simple and nourishing people's bread. And, you know, there are signs of hope everywhere of people taking bread into their own hands and doing it for themselves and to share with others.
All over the country, community groups are growing their own wheat and having me milled in a way that returns all my bran and wheat germ, my fibre and vitamin E as well, and making sure it gets to people in their local area.
More and more people like me are discovering the problems with ultra-processing. And we're longing to eat less and better. Now, what I am learning from Andrew really is changing my life. and the lives of my children. I now understand the benefits of fibre, how it serves our gut and allows production of serotonin, the happy hormone. I now understand that the micronutrients locked in those 7 layers of bran are far more digestible than synthetic nutrients added in at the end. And I now understand how different the world might be if the question was, how many people are nourished per field of wheat, instead of how much product is sold per field of wheat.
For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm really in safe hands. But there's a long way to go before I truly fulfill my mission, which is wherever I can, to be my whole self fully fermented. To never again let myself be depleted or reduced, fooled or exploited. To make sure that everything I have to offer is available not just to the few, but to everyone. And the greatest joy of my heart is when I see people coming together and supporting each other to grow the finest wheat and to share the best bread, whatever their circumstances.
Friends, a quiet revolution is already fermenting. It always starts with bread, the staff of life. When French peasants rebelled against feudal injustice, they used the password, le pain se lève, the bread is rising. And so it does, and so it is. There's nothing quite so powerful, so tasty, so enlivening as the real bread we take into our hands to share with others. Nourishing food is a human right, and it all begins with bread. And so we say, enough, no more additives.
No more ultra-processing.
No more so-called cheap bread that stuffs us and starves us of our health and well-being. We demand real bread for everyone.
Will you help us to tell a new story of better bread? This is our final song, and we would really love it if you would join in with the last line of each verse. The words go like this: let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. And the tune goes like this. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. So here we are, the tale of bread's not over. From where we are, where do we go from here? Right where we are, the future's now unfolding. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. So here we are, our eyes have now been opened. Let's now proceed and mend what's broken here. When it's in our hands, they can't control our choices. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. There is another way. We need a bread worth baking for every child now, for every future year. Right where we are, we'll see it rise before us. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here. Let's take it in our own hands and let it start from here.